And now, here's Mike Muse with the political news.
So let's get right to it and meet the candidates.
That completes the opening statements.
We're going to get right to it.
On Sway in the Morning.
All right, Mike Muse, good morning. How you doing? How was your weekend?
Hey, good morning, man. My weekend was good, man. No complaints.
Did you party the Cardi's album all weekend?
No, on Saturday I went to the opera. I went to the Met. Went and checked out the opera, and so that was fun. And then on Sunday, just watched the Masters game tournament and the Yankees game.
All right, cool.
That was it. So chill.
That wasn't chill around the world, though, man, because I was watching the news and I saw this chemical attack that took place in Syria where, 48 people reportedly were killed, and there was also visions and videotape of people gasping for air. Full families were found together, which led people to believe that this was a gas attack. Our president responded to it. Can you catch us up on what is this all about, Mike Muse, and why should we care?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that intro. So that was perfect tee up for. And citizens, as we began to talk about what happened to Syria over the weekend, really put this in a context as you're listening to me in terms of like the global dynamics with America, the global dynamics with our diplomacy, and our use of military, and what do you guys believe is America's role in navigating this space in terms of when countries are attacked, when our allies are attacked? Should we get into it? A lot of citizens believe just across America that we should stay out of conflict, that we should stay out of other countries, and we should let other countries deal with that problems. And some parts of America believe others. Some parts of America believe that we should engage, we should support our allies, we should support countries that are in need. And so this Syria case dovetails dead smack into the middle of that conversation. As reported yesterday, Syria is reportedly being blamed for what Syrian activists said that dropped toxic gas inside barrel bombs that dropped from a helicopter that was in a rebel city held next to Damascus. That city citizens called Duma. What makes this interesting is that these rebels do not like Assad, the president. They are trying to overthrow Assad for what they believe is demonstrous attacks on their people. The Syrian civil war has been ongoing now for approximately 8 years, and that there's something that needs to be done about it. And so the rebels are trying to take him out. Assad, who's in partnership with Russia, wants no parts of the rebels trying to overtake him or causing disruption to his administration. Syria has denied that this is their fault and on their behalf, but the activists and what we're seeing otherwise seems opposite of what that happened. Sway, we saw a response to it.
If it wasn't Syria, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but if it wasn't, then who then they should be searching for the culprits.
Exactly.
Right,
but they've offered no other alternative possibility of who it could be in regards to who would have dropped the gas attacks on them. What we've seen in retaliation early this morning is that there was an attack that was raided on their air base that was located in Syria. A lot of us woke up this morning thinking that we did that in retaliation to what was happening, but what we found out is that Israel was actually responsible for the attack on Syria in response to what they believe. President Trump had some strong words about that over Twitter, and here's what he had to say. He said, "Many dead, including women and children, in mindless chemical attack in Syria. Area of atrocities is in lockdown and encircled by Syrian army, making it completely inaccessible to outside world. President Putin, Russia, and Iran are responsible for being animal Assad. Big price to pay. Open area immediately for medical help and verification. Another humanitarian disaster for no reason whatsoever. Sick." He goes on to say, if President Obama had crossed the stated red line in the sand, the Syrian disaster would have ended long ago. Animal Assad, which is the president of Syria, would have been history. And so this is the first time, Sway, that we've heard President Trump, since being a candidate and since him being president, has any issued any combination to President Putin directly. But that didn't get over well with Russia, Sway. Russia reported back with a statement this morning that goes as follows, quote, "It is necessary to warn once again that using far-fetched and fabricated pretexts for military intervention in Syria, where Russian servicemen are deployed at the request of the legitimate government, is absolutely unacceptable and can lead to the most serious consequences." So that was Russia striking back. So citizens, to put this in context, what's at play right now is that Russia wants a play in Syria. The reason why Russia wants a play in Syria is because it gives them position to be in the Middle East. Right now, Russia does not have a position in the Middle East, which is what Israel does not want. That's why Israel actually responded back with their response that we saw this morning. In the background of this, President Trump said last week that he actually wants out of Syria. And so what people are believing now is that has emboldened President Assad as well as Russia to continue with their antics within Syria, knowing that we're going to back out of Syria. Why is Syria important to the United States? That is now the new feeding ground for ISIS. That's where the ISIS things come into play. So essentially, this is where we are with it.
Okay, so let's put out a question to the citizens. What do you think our position should be in all of this in global affairs abroad, but especially here specifically to Syria and having this information? I didn't even know about the Israel strike. This is really serious.
Yeah, because if we leave out, what's going to happen is only people are left in Syria is Russia, Syria, and Iran and ISIS. That is a cocktail that you do not want in the Middle East, and that will affect America domestically.
888-742-3345. Give us a call. Let us know. This will affect us. So give us a call. Let us know your thoughts. Sway in the morning.
Now more of the daily news on Sway in the Morning.
Okay, all right. Man, we're sitting there having a conversation off mic about what's going on in Syria. I feel like something is starting to build up to something much larger with Syria and Russia and Iran and now Israel is in the play now, and the United States is, our president is saying things. It's just crazy right now.
It's a lot happening, man.
Yeah.
Our president's saying something now. Russia has responded back to it. Israel is in the mix. And so as you begin to push forward this rhetoric, you have to be careful that you have to essentially then back up the rhetoric. So then what is the action going to be now?
Lindsey Graham actually spoke out about this too, right?
Yeah, and here's what he had to say on Sunday morning.
Well, it's a defining moment in his presidency because he has challenged Assad in the past not to use chemical weapons. We had a one-and-done a missile attack, so Assad's at it again. They see our resolve breaking. They see our determination to stay in Syria waning, and this no accident they use chemical weapons. But President Trump can reset the table here. If it becomes a tweet without meaning, then he's hurt himself with North Korea. If he doesn't follow through and live up to that tweet, he's going to look weak in the eyes of Russia and Iran. So this is a defining moment, Mr. President. You need to follow through with that tweet, show a resolve that Obama never did to get this right.
James in South Carolina, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, man, I think this shit isn't going too far. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shit bigger than Trump, Obama, whoever. America as a whole has been too violent. We can't stop. Like, we got to keep killing shit. If we don't, they come in here. Period.
Yeah. What do you say to that, Mike Muse?
Put
that in context, though. We got to stop killing shit. I mean, as he so eloquently put it.
Yeah. So that kind of goes to how we started off the conversation, how we framed this, right? It's just what is America's temperament? Like, what is America able to handle?
Yeah.
Is America able to handle going forward and fighting another war in Syria? And then what does that look like? Is it strategic strikes? Is it airstrikes? We already saw that President Trump last year issued air missile attacks on their air base.
Yeah.
But we saw within 24 hours those planes were landing right again, so it didn't have much of effect. And so you have to do more of a strategic effect if you want to be more effective within Syria, right? But does America have the stomach for it, right? And a lot of Americans just don't at this time. What we saw happen with President Obama in 2013 was that the UK didn't want to go in partnership with President Obama to go into Syria when they issued that chemical attack back in 2013. President Obama went to Congress and asked for them to decide and to back him on the authorization to go to war or for acts of war with that. Congress came back at the time and said they didn't want to do that, right? And so Obama's getting a lot of hit for it, but also too Congress didn't want to do it at the same time. So that's where we are with it right now.
Greg, what are your thoughts? Greg is in Texas, y'all. Say what up to Greg. Greg.
What up, Greg?
Yo, y'all, man. I'm just, United States always butts in what isn't their business, man.
Yeah.
We went to Iraq. We went to Iran. In my personal opinion, we went over there looking for our, not to help people. I think we went over there in our better interest. But, even our first president of the United States, man, George Washington, said any long-term affairs with any other countries, man, that's what's going to bring y'all down, and that's what the United States doesn't get through their head, man. They want to butt in for everything. They want to be the middleman. They want to be the judge that decides who's right and who's wrong, and that's not up to us. Two countries have beef, let them have beef. Trump's firing away tweets, man, and that's just my personal opinion. That's real unprofessional.
Okay.
And no other president in the past has ever done that, and he's doing it. And I mean, I personally, I don't really like Obama. I don't like him either, you know.
Uh-huh.
I don't like Trump either. But, you know, you don't go around firing tweets that don't mean anything because then, like you said, you're going to be seen as weak. We're going to be taken advantage of. And then where does that leave us, the American people, man?
Greg, man, I appreciate your thoughts, man. Greg, you're a citizen, man, but he brings up a lot of interesting, and he don't like, Obama's past president, but he doesn't, you know.
Yeah, but Greg speaks.
His name keeps coming
up.
up.
Yeah. What is Obama? How long does this go?
He's on vacation.
Jeremy, what do you think? He's in Connecticut. It's Jeremy, y'all. Jeremy!
What up, Jeremy?
Jay Boogie.
Hey, what up, Sway?
What's up?
My thoughts, I kind of want to put it in an analogy like what's going on in the world, in U.S. today is, you know, we got all this bullying going on, right?
Yeah.
And everyone's saying stand up to the bullies instead of, passing to the wayside, whereas America is a superpower in the military. I believe they need to stand up for the people who can't, the citizens of Syria. Assad is just, creating these heinous crimes where we do need to, take part and stand up for these people who can't,
Yeah.
I think, there's been some things in the past where, where we went into Iran, Iraq, where we stood up for the people there, and now they're turning their countries around.
Okay, I appreciate it. So Jeremy feel like we should get involved and stand up to Assad. Correct, Jeremy?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. You're a citizen, Jeremy.
Sway in the morning.
Which is what, so Jeremy is in direct opposition to what Greg thinks, right? So Greg thinks that we should not involve these countries. And so everyone has a different opinion, right? But I think what we're seeing now, Sway, is that Americans now have to, when they think about these elections going forward and they think about our senators, our congressmen, it's like, what do we want America's positions to be? Do we want to continue to be this big brother, or do we want to maintain this isolationist aspect in the sense of the ways that Trump is going? The three options that really Trump has right now is, does he remove Assad? Does he remove us from Syria altogether? Or three, does he find a way to use a forceful attack against the chemical weapons that was used against our own citizens?
Okay, I want to pivot for a quick second before we wrap this up. So maybe
absolutely.
this next conversation, people could continue talking with us on your social media.
Yep.
But I also was, watching and reading about this trade war and these tariffs that are coming down by the United States. Break that down. How serious is this, and how, because the stock market had a lot of issues over the weekend.
It was down 550 points.
Okay.
On Friday.
Now that's, for anybody who plays in the stock market,
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It made me nervous.
Yeah.
All right, so what is this about?
So before we begin, we want to make sure these are just recommendations now. So these tariffs haven't went into action. But citizens, it goes into the...
Just recommendations?
Just recommendations
but
right now.
But the fact that it was proposed
has caused the stock market to go into flux. And so citizens, it goes into question when we always talk about the power of the Oval Office, no matter who's in there. Whatever the president says moves volumes, it moves the markets, it can create war off of a simple statement in the Oval Office or as a simple tweet. So what we're seeing now is that President Trump has issued tariffs against China. China has doubled down and they said they're going to propose their own set of tariffs. They have also, and then Trump hits back again, and then China has hit back again. Strategically, what China has done, and essentially in a nutshell, citizens, what tariffs means that at the end, your consumer goods can go up.
From
electronics to shoes to clothing to refrigerators to cars. So that's going to be within play. But what's really, and also too, as your perspective, Sway, as investors are now losing money as a result of the stock market's fluctuation. Confidence have been shaken. Even the commodities markets now, which I'm about to pivot to in terms of soybeans, and pork, right? Those are commodities. That is also in flux and went down too as well. So individuals are losing money from there. What's happening now in rural America, China has been strategic and said, well, they're going to put tariffs on pork and on soybeans. And so here is what a Republican senator from the state of South Dakota had to say, who's a large manufacturer of soybeans.
We're talking about a lot of money that goes down just on the speculation of having a tariff put in place. Let me give you an example. In South Dakota, small state, it's our second largest crop. We produce enough soybeans to where if you just drop the price by 10 cents based on the speculation of having China put a tariff on, a 10-cent reduction per bushel is about $24 million a year for a 10-cent reduction in the price of soybeans. That's happening right now.
That puts it in context. That puts a number on it. That's from a Republican senator from the state of South Dakota that manufactures soybeans. Farmers are in uproar about this, and they're uneasy about it because $24 million is a real number, Sway, and that's just in South Dakota.
But not everybody is in disagreement. I mean, people are talking about the trade deficit between the two countries.
On the flip side, there is a trade deficit that is occurring, but it's getting a lot of the argument is getting confused, though, right? A lot of it is because they believe that Chinese manipulacy of the currency, which that isn't happening right now, but it's more so in terms of China's intellectual property they're stealing from us, right? But also the trade deficit. But then the trade deficit goes to, are we creating the right products that China is interested in buying? So, for example, there's European countries like Germany who actually has a surplus within China. The question may be why, Sway? Because the Chinese love German manufactured cars, right? And so there's certain things that the Chinese are buying from certain countries that creates a surplus. So then the larger question is, how can we, through diplomacy and strategy, create products that China would be more interested in buying? And so what does that look like? But the flip side is people are upset about China, believe that there is this deficit, and they're also upset with the intellectual property. So Trump felt he needed to do something.
Let's keep the conversation going. Let us know your thoughts on Syria. Let us know your thoughts on these proposed tariffs.
Yes.
You know, what we're seeing going on globally and how it is impacting our country. Hit up Mike Muse. He's going to respond. You know, you might, whatever your perspective is, he's going to respond to you. Hit him up right now on social media at...
hit me up, citizens, at I am Mike Muse. That's MUSNSAME on Twitter and on Instagram.
Thank you, Mike. We got sports up next. Hey.
Steve Cohen is here, baby.